Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, despite the fact that Los Angeles Thieves might not be making any roster changes ahead of the Prime Classic in a couple of weeks' time. Seemingly a role change could be on the horizon. Kenny back to a full-time SMG like he was in World War II. Is this the key to Los Angeles Thieves revival? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that one. Slasher says the following. Obviously it's been a minute since he's held a controller. Right, a lot of these players, of course, coming back after effectively a week off. I think, okay, wow, how does this thing even work again? So weird, right? When you haven't used a controller for a long time, you come back, even after just a few days, it just feels strange, and your shot is atrocious for like 10 minutes, and then you get back into business. But, yeah, of course, Slasher versus Thieves, that's been a good rivalry over these past few weeks. Wanted to mention a couple of things as well, because this blew my mind, to be honest. So, Rokkr Global, the owners of the London Royal Ravens, alongside Rogue, TalentX, whatever exactly that is, are entering a definitive merger agreement with a company called Infinite Reality that's doing like metaverse type stuff. I'm not particularly familiar on actually what they do and what their product is. You can't really figure it out if you go to their websites. But the kind of combined merger now of Infinite Reality and Rokkr Global is worth about $2.5 billion apparently, and the Rokkr Global portion of that is worth 470 mil. I'm pretty sure the owners of Rokkr Global haven't like sold this to this company for 470 mil and cashed out mega. I think it's basically an all stock agreement where you know, they're now kind of banking on it actually being worth that sum. So look, I don't know. The Ravens now owned by effectively a kind of different ownership group with this new merger coming into play. Not sure what this is going to mean in the near future or the long future for the Ravens and the players on that team, but look, I'm just hoping it works out for the best for the organization and for the players, because honestly, sometimes I see some of this stuff and I'm like, surely this can only end badly, but you know, intrigued your perspective in the comment section below, to be honest. This also on the next Call of Duty title. So the rumor has it that Treyarch's next Call of Duty game this year, of course, is going to be Modern Warfare 2022, whatever. The year after would usually be a Treyarch game. That apparently is getting pushed back by a year to 2024, I guess it will be, but seemingly that does not necessarily mean the COD is moving on from annual releases. Tom Henderson comes out with this article last night suggesting that apparently Sledgehammer are working on another title. So this year's game in Vanguard, I guess last year's game, is a Sledgehammer game. This year's game is going to be Infinity Wars, Modern Warfare, whatever. And then the year after that, in 2023, it's going to be another Sledgehammer game. And then after that, it goes to Treyarch. Apparently that's what's going on. If that's the case, that's kind of mind-blowing. But, you know, still, I don't know what they're going to do here. My hope is that they say, okay, look, we don't have all that much time to turn this around. Let's just remaster Advanced Warfare or do Advanced Warfare 2, I don't know, and copy and paste everything. That'd be great. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be great. Like, you know, do we really want to see another Vanguard or another World War II? Like, surely Vanguard has been so badly received by pretty much everyone all across the spectrum that Sledgehammer are going to have to do something pretty drastically different. So maybe it actually does mean a return. That's obviously a very optimistic approach, but, you know, definitely intrigued your perspective in the comment section below. Now, that might not be the case though, right? As this guy's saying right here, he reckons that it's Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward again. They're going to do like a 2-year cycle after this one. That, of course, a rumor right now, but it kind of contradicts what Tom Henderson had to say. Still, who knows what they're going to plan to do? Maybe this actually will be the cycle, but instead 2023 and all the years in between, we get remastered titles. Advanced Warfare Remastered, Black Ops 3 Remastered. I'm getting ahead of myself here, to be perfectly honest. Let's dive into some of this stuff then. Mutineers throwing some shade at the Rokkr repping this town lately, straight up Burger Town, because of course they've not been on a great spot lately, and we were kind of wondering whether Rokkr actually might make some sort of moves, right? Priestahh, Standy, both probably been underperforming so far this year. There is a question mark as to what they decide to do if any changes go down internally. They've already kind of tried the role swap idea, which hasn't really worked out too well. Like, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts in the comment section below on this one, but has there really ever been a role swap that has actually worked out particularly effectively? Like last year, Rokkr, I know they changed some things around. They did end up winning the Stage 5 Major, but like they obviously had some roster changes in there as well. Standy, the whole accuracy for MajorManiak thing, like I don't know how many times there's been where a role swap has been attempted and it's actually worked out and made a team, you know, from a kind of back marker to one of the very best. I think I've been watching too much Formula 1, but aBeZy has his thoughts on the best flex players in the game right now and also the worst flex players in the game. He did a YouTube video last night where he effectively went through his flex players, and the first one he placed was Kenny. The worst flex in the league, he reckons, right now. The most, well, the highest potential, I guess, well, one of the highest potentials out of any of the players on the list, but on current performance, he's right down there at the bottom, and aBeZy reckons that they might be making some sort of significant role change, bringing Kenny back to a full-time SMG.
I know a lot of you guys may think he's overrated. I know Kenny is a superstar talent. Now, it doesn't mean that he's going to be a superstar player, but he is a player with superstar talent. There's great players, maybe not great, but there's very good players in the league that don't have superstar talent, and they can never be a superstar level player, but Ken does. But just something is not working for him right now in this game. And I don't know if it is his role. because I have heard rumors that Kenny is going to be going to that main SMG role. But unfortunately for this tier list, I have to have him in the flex. So who knows? Maybe that'll get him back to his roots. You know, I'm talking best player in the game type beat. But for now, up until this point, he just has not been a very good flex player. Kenny has not only the lowest KD out of all flexes, but he also has the lowest damage per life out of all flexes. And even though this stat is a little fugazi, I thought it was quite interesting because he was also last in it. He is last in non-traded kills per life. Maybe he's playing too fast with an automaton to where he's in situations where it just doesn't benefit him. You know, where maybe the Volkswagen, however you pronounce that gun, would fit him more, even though I think it might be getting GA'd, or the MP40.
So here we go then, let's have a look at these beautiful Lionman cards. I mean, these are pretty disgusting actually, apart from, well, Envoy's stats, to be honest. Here they are on the big screen. Like, I mean, yeah, look at this. We've got Envoy at an 85, Octane's actually at a 72, largely just because his search and destroy has actually been reasonable. But, yeah, Kenny with a 57, Drazah with a 56. Their search KD for Kenny this entire season has been absolutely abysmal. Like, this guy's played nowhere near the level. We know he can play out. We know he should play out. Of course, I'm the only player, well, one of the only players to have never been dropped in his career, never been dropped off this Los Angeles Thieves roster, never really been considered for one of the changes. So maybe now the change they're going to make is a role change, bringing Kenny back to the full-time SMG like he was many moons ago in the World War II days. Of course, really, he's never been an SMG player in his career, apart from the World War II exception, to be honest, where he was the best SMG player in the entire game, which is quite something. But back in Advanced Warfare, when he played that when he was kind of underage, and then the CWL kicked in, he couldn't compete for a couple of years, went to Halo, I think, and kind of did some other stuff, then came back to Call of Duty in World War II. The only reason why he ran an SMG on that team was because he kind of had to. Accuracy and Chino were already there. He was going to force into that role if he wanted to get a spot in the league. Back in Advanced Warfare, he used a lot of a BAL, and of course when he went into Black Ops 4, tried the Sork at the start, didn't like it when it was a kind of the pre-hit scan era with the bullet drop off and this type of stuff, and then he went to the Maddox and was a phenomenal player at the end of that game, there's no doubt. Last year, I think he was very impactful on the Krig role as well, but so far this season has been way off the pace, no doubt, and maybe it's time for Los Angeles Thieves to consider doing something, maybe bringing Kenny to the SMG. If that is the case, you'd imagine Drazah will go to the flex position, and now Kenny and Envoy will be the two SMG players on the roster. This honestly is concerning to me. I don't see how this can possibly work. Maybe it will, but Kenny tweets this out on the 2nd of April, actually can't get into a rhythm at all in these maps, just got to be better and do something new. Seemingly what that something new might indeed be, as Crew says, is pull out the MP40. Of course, look, the MP40, theoretically, a rather similar weapon to the PPSH from back in the day. It's not identical, it doesn't feel identical, but you know, it's relatively similar in terms of the way those two weapons operate. I'm sure Kenny can be great on that role. Whether he can be great enough on that role to make this team work is a question mark. To me, Drazah is probably best suited on a flex, at least in my opinion. I think probably Drazah's more effective in the flex role than he is on a full-time SMG. And to me, it's not just the AR duo in Octane and Kenny that have been underperforming, but also the SMGs, right? Envoy's been good, but like, you know, Drazah hasn't really been there or thereabouts a lot of the time. Like, the kind of duo that they have doesn't really seem to work and is so cohesive. Like, you look at a Scump and Shotzi or a Simp and aBeZy, of course, is kind of the classic example of the last few years. The way they generally play is just way more impactful than Envoy's often on an island, right? And Drazah, not sure he's quite aggressive enough to bring to the other element of that SMG duo what they need. And therefore, like, is Kenny going to have to be the most aggressive player on this team? That's the thing. Like, Envoy last year and Scump, I don't think were the greatest SMG duo because they played relatively similarly in terms of they were good at getting kills and stuff, but there was no one like a super aggro who's going to go in first and all this type of stuff. You know, there's no aBeZy, there was no Shotzi on the Optic team last year. This team also doesn't really have an aBeZy or a Shotzi or a CleanX type player. And now maybe they're wanting Kenny to be that player for the team. I just can't see how this actually works out, right? And to me, it just seems like every single time a team makes an attempt like this to try and make something happen, like it just doesn't work out to their benefit. And it's effectively like a last and final resort for a team to try a role change before they just blow up the entire roster. So I guess that's what they're trying. But you know, if this does work out, then fair play. And it will make people wonder why Kenny didn't try this sooner, to be honest. But he's obviously been not eager at all to actually use this. He wants to use the AR for the last few years. But you know, now maybe the PPSH, at least as it was back in the day, now the MP40 is the way to go once again. But you know, still, every single time a team tries this, it seems to me that they kind of feel like they need a significant change, but they don't want to make a roster change because maybe there aren't options on the market there to actually make some sort of move that makes a lot of sense. Therefore, they're trying a serious role swap, which it might have some short-term benefits and implications, but I'm just not convinced it's going to turn this team around from right to the bottom all the way up to, you know, being a top contender, winning championships, this type of stuff. Maybe it's plausible, but as Jacob says, React reactions to roster moves are always pretty funny to me. He actually says, I thought was quite interesting here, when the goal is to win, this on the 22nd of February. Some teams want to win, some teams want to develop talent and show glimpses for a more long-term plan. When the goal is to win, you'll usually see signs early on whether that's possible or not. If it's not possible, if it's not working, a change is needed. The idea of going from a bottom feeder to a contender without major changes is fairy tale stuff. So interesting statements right here. Of course, this was at the time when Los Angeles Thieves looked pretty good and went into Major 1 as one of the hot favourites. Now we're looking back at this and thinking, okay, hang on a second, they might have shown some promise of being one of the best teams, but they never realised any of that potential, and now they find themselves in a spot where maybe major changes are needed. But of course, as I've kind of said, are there actually options on the market out there to make things work? But look, if this does fail, let's say Kenny does go to the SMG, and maybe they try out for a few days in scrims, and maybe it doesn't work out. But if Enable's saying it, he knows the team, he knows the guys, probably there's some truth to this, right? And maybe it doesn't stay long term, maybe they try it in scrims for a week or two, it goes horribly wrong, and they decide to go a different direction. But still, if this fails, what is the plan there, right? Like, do you take Kenny all the way from the main SMG on the team and put him all the way on the main ER and get rid of Octane and keep Drazah as the flex and bring in another SMG? Like, there's so many problems here, and Kenny is a very flexible player and can probably make that work. But you do have to be concerned, if you're a Los Angeles Thieves fan, that if they lose the first couple of series they play, this team is effectively chalked. Because whenever they try something like this, it's basically like their last call before you actually blow up the entire thing, and maybe X would say they should have done that already. A few more Lionman cards just before we finish off the video here. This from Major 2. This, well, the entirety of Major 2, right? These are the Minnesota Rokkr guys. Not the greatest stage from them. Once again, attached, probably the best player on the team. We look at Priestahh again. Pretty shocking stuff, honestly, because Priestahh, when he was on that 100 Thieves roster and the FaZe roster back in the day, was such an impactful player. The last couple of years, to be honest, hasn't really done that much, hasn't showed that much promise. Of course, he was on FaZe back in the Modern Warfare days, and you could argue, okay, well, Priestahh was on FaZe. You've got Cellium, Simp, and aBeZy on that team. You're already going to have some decent success. MajorManiak Group Calls was there as well. They made a load of grand finals, didn't really win all that much. I think they went 2-5 in grand finals performances that year, which wasn't great. But yeah, this season, both the players have been somewhat underperforming. Interesting to me, actually, that MajorManiak in Search and Destroy has only a 0.81, given the fact that in his Search has probably been his most impactful game mode at times. But, still hasn't really turned out in the statistics so far at this stage. Priestahh generally has been kind of struggling. Standy has still been okay, but his hardpoint's been pretty atrocious. Like, if he had better stats in hardpoint, it wouldn't be too far different to what we saw from Standy last season. But, yeah, this is kind of the big question mark of a team as well, alongside LA Thieves. Like, yes, this team made some role changes. Attach went to a more AR role, Priestahh went to a full-time SMG, and that hasn't really changed their results all that much. This is the London Royal Ravens, guys. Kind of interesting, actually, because Afro seems to be such a mega star and just dominating whenever I see him play the regular league games. They went to the Major, though, and things got somewhat different. Impressive, actually, from Nasty. The only purple stat all across the board here is hill time for 10 minutes. Definitely, I don't think he gets quite the respect he deserves, and at least in terms of numbers straight over the stage, probably the best player that London actually had this time around. They come top 8 to the Major. They're looking for a bounce back. The Optic guys as well look like this. I thought the numbers here were pretty spectacular. I think they get some benefits to the numbers based on the record that they have or something like that. But well, here's Shotzi with a 98. His Search was unbelievable the entire stage. Like, 5 championships won. One, of course, ring to his name. Yeah, 1.41 in Search. Kills per round, incredible. Average damage per round, incredible. The stats across the other game modes as well, very impressive. Dashy right behind him, of course, on the main ER, so the stats kind of look slightly differently right here. Scump was also great. And Lily, of course, was pretty good throughout the entire stage, but at the Major, somewhat underperformed where he was at in Major 1, and that might have been one of the difference makers for the Optic that weekend. But shout out Lionman again for these absolutely beautiful cards, and just wanted to finish off with this clip as well with the Volk, because there was some talk about the fact that, okay, if Kenny used a Volk or something like that, that might be the way to go. But yeah, if the Volk is gone, then probably it's MP40 full time for Kenny if they do follow through with this, which maybe will work, or maybe it certainly will not. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit that like button, tells your YouTube gods this is a good video, I just like you should see it as well, and I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.